Imagine this, a ship adrift on the open sea. Its crew all dead, their faces frozen in a state of absolute terror. And just before it all went dark, a final cryptic message. Today, we're diving into one of the most chilling and persistent mysteries in maritime history, a secret that went straight to the bottom of the ocean with the SS Orang Medan. I die. That's it. 2 words. This is the end of the story, but for us, it's where we're going to begin. To really understand what happened, we've got to hear the entire message, right up to the moment the line went dead for good. So, let's rewind. The year is 1948. We're in the Strait of Malacca, one of the busiest shipping lanes in the entire world. On American and British ships all across the strait, radio operators are listening to the usual chatter. It's a perfectly normal day. The weather's great, the sea is calm, but then a bizarre signal suddenly cuts through all that static. It's coming through in Morse code, dots and dashes. This stuff is famous for being super reliable. It can cut through almost any interference, which is why it's a true lifeline for ships out at sea. But this lifeline, well, it was transmitting a message of pure dread. At first, it sounds like a pretty standard distress call. An SOS from a ship called the Orang Medan, asking for a doctor. Okay, that's urgent, sure, but not totally out of the ordinary. But then the message takes a very dark turn. The follow-up is frantic and honestly terrifying. Probably second officer dead, other crew members also dead. This is where your blood runs cold. This isn't a request for help anymore. It's a report from a floating morgue. Something awful has already happened. And then, after sending its coordinates, they get that final, garbled fragment. Just 2 words. I die. And just like that, nothing. The line goes dead. Radio operators are trying to respond, but all they get back is static.
All right, so that SOS doesn't just vanish into thin air. The closest vessel, an American merchant ship called the Silver Star, hears the call. They immediately change course and start racing toward the coordinates the operator sent out.
Now, when the Silver Star finally arrives a few hours later, the whole scene is just confusing. They're expecting to see a shipwreck, right? Maybe a fire or a ship taking on water. But nope, the Orang Medan is just floating, perfectly intact, calm as can be. It's just sitting there. But something is deeply, deeply wrong. The captain of the Silver Star tries hailing the ship, blasting his horn, and gets nothing back. Just the sound of the waves. The ship is completely silent. A ghost on the water. At this point, the captain of the Silver Star knows the only way to get answers is to go over there. He sends a boarding party. And what they found? Yeah, it's straight out of a nightmare. The second they step on board, the rescue team feels it. A real, palpable chill in the air. Now remember, we're in the Strait of Malacca. It is hot and humid, but the deck of this ship felt unnaturally cold. And then they saw why it was so quiet. Bodies were scattered everywhere. On the bridge and the chart room, all across the deck. Every single person on that ship was dead. But this is the part that will stick with you. It wasn't just that they were dead, it was the way they died. Every single body was frozen in this state of pure terror, eyes wide open, mouths agape, arms reaching out like they were trying to fight something off. Even the ship's dog was found dead, snarling at some invisible enemy. So you'd think, okay, there must have been a struggle, right? But here's the most baffling part. Not a scratch or a wound on any of them. No signs of violence at all. It was as if they had literally been scared to death. The rescue team, completely shaken, decides they have to tow this ship to the nearest port to figure out what happened. But the Orang Medan, well, it seems to have other plans. So just as the crew of the Silver Star starts hooking up tow lines, smoke starts billowing out of one of the cargo holds. And within moments, the smoke turns to fire and it's spreading fast. The boarding party has to scramble, cut the lines, and get back to their own ship for safety. And just as they do, a massive explosion rips the Orang Medan apart. And it sinks, taking all of its secrets down to the bottom of the sea. So now the ship is gone. The bodies are gone. The only evidence left in the entire world is the terrifying story told by the crew of the Silver Star. And this is where the story goes from just being a mystery to, well, something much, much stranger. So investigators start digging, and they hit a brick wall immediately. Turns out, according to official records like Lloyd's shipping register, the SS Orang Medan never existed. Now, that sounds crazy, but you have to remember this was right after World War II. It was a chaotic time, and it actually wasn't that uncommon for ships involved in smuggling or other shady business to use fake names to stay off the books. Over the decades, three main theories have kind of floated to the top. The most logical one points to some kind of lethal cargo. Maybe the ship was smuggling something like potassium cyanide, which could have mixed with seawater and created a toxic gas, killing the crew without leaving a mark. Or maybe it was unstable nitroglycerin, which would definitely explain that final explosion. Then you get the darker theories, like the idea it was secretly transporting biological weapons from Japan's infamous Unit 731. And then, of course, there's the supernatural, the idea that whatever happened on that ship is just beyond our ability to explain. For a long time, this was all just a spooky sea story. But then, in 2003, the CIA declassified a letter from its own archives. This letter proves that the incident was taken seriously at the highest levels of intelligence. Someone believed the fate of the Orang Medan wasn't just a one-off event, but maybe the key to a whole pattern of unexplained disappearances at sea. So what secrets really went down with that ship? Was it just a tragic chemical accident, a secret military operation that went horribly wrong, or was the crew terrified by something our science still can't explain? Maybe the most chilling thought isn't that we don't have the answer, but that the answer is still down there, just waiting in the deep.